Hey all, thank you for joining me in this project, in this series of workshops. This is a trial run, and with your help and with your input, I'm hoping in the end we will have a better product, something we can use and do more seriously. For 40 years I've been involved in humanist-inspired activism in various fields. And even before that, I was really thinking a lot about the big existential questions. Who am I, my place in the world, and meaning of life, and so on. I've sat countless seminars and workshops. I studied philosophy at the university, and I both sat and hosted workshop seminars with the humanist movement through these 40 years on various topics: networking, humanism versus humanitarian work, violence, reciprocity, and on and on. I could count several more. Some of these we will cover in our series, and others maybe in future series. I have enough material for 2 or 3 such series. And some of these themes that we will go into now, we may have to repeat to get a more depth in our covering it. Now the point of view here is social activism. In its widest sense. I mean, you can do something as an individual, or you can be working through an NGO, through some organization to contribute something positive. The questions we are dealing with: how can I contribute something positive to my community and to the world? What prevents me, what stops me, and how can I maintain the fire and the meaning in what I'm doing? So why am I doing this? I've been fortunate to have meaningful role models in my life. My grandfather was a teacher and a committed socialist. My mother, totally with a different approach, a businesswoman, has always found ways to help others and is still going strong at 82. In my early 20s, I encountered a unique form of humanism. It's a version that emerged in Argentina in the early 1970s. It fundamentally changed how I saw myself and other people. You could say the boundaries between me and the others began to blur, both across space and across time. Very mysterious, but if you stick around, you will know what I mean when I say that. Anyway, I felt more deeply connected, I found a different dimension within myself, and it carried with it a strong motivation to contribute something good, something positive. That said, I've always carried doubts. I started out as a shy, introverted bookworm, often asking myself in my early days in the humanist movement, who am I to think that I could make a difference? When I was in middle school, I remember when I had my first speech for a small group of people, and I was really sweating, I was shaking, I was so nervous, so who am I to do anything, But the need to act, the urge to contribute something was there, it never left me. And when I look around, I see people, much more talkative people, much more charismatic people, but they are not doing anything. So I resolved, I do what I have to do. I become who I need to become to able to do things, to able to connect, to able to, activate people, get them motivated, and so I can build meaningful networks and do some interesting projects. One of the most important ways to bring about changes is through education. So it's a very important topic, very important theme. For the past 15 years, I've been running and managing a language school while also teaching there. I found my passion in live teaching quite late in my early 40s, and so I've been, so fortunate to be able to do that since. And I've always had strong opinions about education. Our current system, I have some disagreement with the current system. It's originated in the Industrial Revolution, and it still carries a lot of elements from that time. It's still like, the point of view is like it's a factory producing wheels for the big machine, and we are not machine, people are not machine. A German philosopher, Max Brinkmann, he put forward criticism that it kind of I made my own, which sounds like this. In philosophy of education and educational studies, education is under suspicion of restricting autonomy, degrading students, preventing participation, and promoting inequality through authoritarian relationships and practices. These are bleak words, black words, but we know that there are a lot of things happening, positive things in schools all over the world. But in all of these, you can still find traces of the before mentioned criticism. And we have some really inspiring alternatives today. Finland has been on the forefront of rethinking education, designing system around the needs and interests of people, rather than forcing people to conform to rigid structures, and also connecting learning more closely to real life. An even older example is the Summerhill School that was founded in UK in 1921, a very radical approach, where students, they join the school and they may start to play, do something other than and study in the first couple of weeks, even couple of months. And they only start learning when they feel the motivation to learn. So in our share folder, I have some more information that you will be able to access, both on the Finnish approach and on the Summerhill School. Both approaches rest on the understanding that it is deeply human instinct to want to learn. If a student is struggling, it's not a student who is broken. The system needs to change. In recent years, I've served on the board of an organization called Leiknits, an umbrella organization for institutions and schools in adult education in Iceland. One of our tasks was to organize talks and lectures on educational policy and practice. In one of these lectures, I was introduced to a concept called Bildung. It's a Nordic concept originating from Germany. It's a philosophy of education, not focusing just on knowledge, but on formation. This was also the first I heard of the terms about horizontal and vertical learning, or horizontal and vertical knowledge. And this approach struck me as really relevant and fitting well to the humanist approach that I hold dear. And this will be the starting point in our series. Bildung refers to a process of personal development, which learning is not only through accumulating information, gathering information, which is horizontal knowledge, but also integrating it meaningfully through emotional, ethical, and contextual understanding, which is vertical knowledge or vertical learning. Horizontal knowledge we usually associate with formal education, facts, formulas, techniques, history, data. It's transferable. You can transfer it, you can teach it, and often test it through exams. In our modern world today, we are surrounded, some might even say flooded by horizontal knowledge, and it's instantly accessible at any time. But this abundance of knowledge raises the question, what do I do with it? How is it relevant to me? What does it mean to me? Vertical knowledge is about values, about context, about emotional maturity. Self-awareness is the tools that help us to sift through the flood of information and recognize what truly matters. It's not about content, it's about context. So, vertical knowledge is largely non-transferable. So, in some ways, it cannot be taught directly. So, it's in a way like when children learn language. Some things you can teach, you can add to the vocabulary and speed things up in that regard, but things like the syntax, how to construct a sentence, it seems that it's not possible to teach or to speed the process. Children learn it by being exposed to the linguistic environment where people are speaking. So this seems to be also with other things in vertical learning. It grows from life experience, emotional maturity, self-reflection and values. It's about asking not only what do I know, but also what does this knowledge mean to me and how does it shape how I live. So it's not a curriculum or a fixed method, but a process that unfolds within the individual. So while horizontal knowledge expands, it adds to what we know, it adds information, it adds techniques. It doesn't really change who we are, whereas vertical knowledge, vertical learning changes us. So the Bildung moment, the eureka moment of Bildung is like when we say to ourselves, how could I have been so stupid? How could I have been so stupid? So if we can realize that we are stupid, it means we have moved from another place and we have gained something, we have gained some vertical learning. Education, in my view, has long stood at crossroads. The Summerhill School was founded more than a century ago, yet acknowledgement of its approach or similar approaches have only recently started to influence mainstream modern education systems, such as in Finland. Now, with the rapid advance of AI, these crossroads is becoming unavoidable. And some schools, some institutions will survive this and some not. And in the future system of education, I believe that the key there will be vertical learning, whether we call it that or we call it something else. So here we are, beginning a series of short workshops on the untransferable, the unteachable. It sounds like a paradox, how can you teach something unteachable? How is that possible? Let's find out. Couple of things to keep in mind. Because vertical learning is largely untransferable or unteachable, like mentioned before, the focus is on creating conditions rather than teaching. The conditions should encourage people to feel safe and free to express themselves, and it is our common responsibility to create that environment. My role, we use the word orienter for my role, is not that of a teacher or a professor. The traditional professor carries authority and power, which is stifles of creativity and really, remember the criticism that I mentioned before. The orienter is also a participant. But in addition to participate in the program, to express himself about the topics, helps to maintain time, ensures that everybody can contribute, and tries to give a good example by giving a sincere reflection. And it's important that we can relate to the topic personally. If it's just here is theoretically, it will not invoke vertical learning. Some of the things that we will be talking about may feel challenging and you may experience confusion. And to experience confusion is in this, means that you are sincerely participating. So it's a good sign actually, and don't worry. If you don't understand something right away, have faith in your brain. It's a wonderful tool. And even though you don't understand something today, the brain will continue to work on it. For a long time, for a couple of decades, I worked as a translator. And in my last years, I wouldn't spend much time on complicated stuff. I would read the text through carefully, and then I would continue translating. Next day, I would sit down, I would look at the text, and 90% of the time I understood because my brain didn't stop. So you can for sure learn something new here. I have no doubt about that, but whether you do, that depends on you. And the key thing here is to let go. Let go of your maybe emotional knot or your fixed point of view. You may have heard of the monkey trap. The monkey trap is something supposedly used in Brazil before to catch monkeys. You would place a jar or a coconut, some container with food inside, and it would have a hole just enough so the monkey could slip its hand in, and then it would grab the food, but the clenched fist wouldn't be able to go out, so it remained stuck. Even when humans approached and it was really scared, it couldn't let go. We all have this inner monkey within us. It appears in arguments, in debates, in online, conflicts, and it prevents us from resolving them. And we might even be in some situation where, we know that we are doing something destructive, we are, messing up relationship, but somehow we cannot let go. But as humans, we have this ability. We have the ability to let go, even though we don't do it very often, even though the monkey has the upper hand more often. So we risk nothing by letting go emotionally, letting go, of our fixed point of view, opening up for something new. The only thing that happens is if we don't like it, if it's not correct or coherent to us, we can go back to our old view. It's not going away anywhere. Think back to the questionnaire about the two-dimensional being describing a ball. From its two-dimensional perspective, its description is coherent and correct. Yet, we cannot really comprehensively describe a ball without adding the third dimension. So the only way to get that comprehensive understanding would be to let go of the two-dimension view and opening up to something new to really gain a proper understanding. So, this is all for now. I just want to leave you with 3 questions that I would like to hear your reflections on Saturday. The first one is, how does your inner monkey express itself in your daily life? Second, can you identify Bildung moments in humanity's history? What do I mean by this? For example, you could imagine like the cave people in the 50,000 years ago, lived a primitive life, and one of the things that caused them suffering was, at some point, probably they didn't know the difference between a dream and reality. So a bad dream, a nightmare, would have caused a lot of suffering, And at some point, some wise person figured out this is not the same thing, and so they would understand that, and it would improve their quality in life and ease their suffering, and they had gained a considerable step in vertical learning. The third question is, can you identify Bildung moments in your own life? We've all had them, but can we really identify some eureka moment there? So, thank you for participating in this once again, and look forward seeing you next Saturday. Take care all.